Hey, CR First, this is Pastor Brian. And hey, I want to talk with you for just a few minutes here about what's going to start to take place as we're able to reopen the building. I've purposely been trying to say in our communication, we're not going to reopen the church in a sense because the church has never been closed. All right, we've been one church in multiple locations for a couple months now, and the irrational generosity and the way we've encouraged each other has been beautiful. And we are going to continue all of our online experiences. We're not going to limit that. In fact, there's going to be some things online that we're going to continue to increase as we move forward. But for those that are ready to gather again in person, we are going to begin. And so on June 7th, we're going to launch our first full day of services. And what this means is we're going to have a chance to come together and encourage each other with social distancing. We still have to follow the practices that are in play, and we want to make sure that works out well. And what that means is we have fewer chairs in the auditorium. They're spaced apart, and families will sit together and be spaced in between the different families as we worship. That we're encourage 6 feet separation as we talk with each other. Friendly waves. We're not quite at the point for hugs and handshakes yet. We're looking forward to that opportunity. I'm telling you, I am very much so. And we're also but we're going to be able to fully engage in worship and be in each other's presence. And there's something so special about that. We've been listening to everybody and hearing you, and we know that well over 60% are ready to come and to worship. And so on May 31st, we're doing kind of we're working with our serve team people to make sure everything's ready, and we're doing something unique to get those things in place. But on June 7th is when we're ready to open up. And again, we'll have those 3 services. Now, the 3 service times will be 9, 11, and 1 p.m. Okay? And here's how I want to encourage you to think about this. If you or before everything happened, maybe you were a 9 o'clock service person, more than likely there'll be enough space for you to still attend 9 o'clock. We encourage if a few of you could start to think, well, maybe I could go to the 1 p.m. service. Because we're just about 250 seats that we have available with the social distancing guidelines in place currently. And then we're going to have at 11 o'clock, those that normally attend at 11, I would encourage many of you to think about going to the 1 p.m. We're really hoping not to have to do tickets for the services in the future. And because we want to make sure that people can come, there's seats available. And so if you're a regular attender, can you consider moving to the 1 p.m. And looking at that service or 9 o'clock? And here's what we've noticed online. Online, a majority of you have been watching 9 o'clock. You've been participating in the 9 o'clock service, and actually it's been kind of reversed. What was our normal attendance at 11 is now at 9. What's our normal attendance at 9 is now 11. It was much smaller at 11. And then quite a few of you were watching the service later when it was available. And so we know that the spread out of time is going to be okay. And so encourage us that we could work together and figure this out. If we're overflowing for a service, we'll have an overflow room. But we know we'd rather be in person together than being in overflow locations. And so if you could, we would encourage you to really think about which service that you could attend, 9, 11, or 1. Now remember, we don't have children's ministry yet. That's going to come a little bit later. I think we've been talking, it might move up to phase 2 of our reopening in limited capacity. And so that might begin in July, as early as July, we're hoping, right? Everything's continuing to be a little bit flexible as we move forward with this. So parents, if you want to bring your children with you to service, absolutely, we love it. We're a multi-generational church. Your kids will be sitting with you. We'll have a simple busy bag available each week, but we encourage parents, if there's things that you know that may keep your kids engaged, or we've talked to many parents who have said they probably won't come back until there's something for the children to engage. Listen, I had 3 boys, so I get it completely. And then there's no problem. It really is. There's no problem if you're still at home, fully engaged online. Everything that we're doing for children's ministry at Pastor Jan and her team have been working on, that's going to continue. All of our services will be streamed online. That's going to continue. And we're going to encourage each other. Now, our services are only going to be about an hour in length. One, to help with, of kids in the room, but also we know that we need to clean the building between services. And it's going to take some significant amount of doing that. Like there's some challenges in doing that in this, as we learn to live with this virus. Like that's how I've been kind of thinking about this. We've learned to live with it. There's going to be some challenges in this. And so we're going to be cleaning in between. So what this means too is we're having some new serve team opportunities. And if you want to help serve during this time, our normal serve team as far as greeters and ushers and all this kind of thing, it's all looking very different. And if you're willing to serve in that capacity and help us clean in between services, you can just shoot a note to Pastor Nate, just nate@crfirst.org, and we'll work together to see what's the right spot and the right fit for this time. Now remember, we are fully online. If you're not ready, and because of multiple reasons. In fact, we heard about 60% are ready from the survey that we did, and people are ready to come back. And we know that there are many that are still have other options happening. And here's what I want to talk to us just for a second, okay? I think it's so important that as we move forward, this is where we show who we are as the church. We did great in the beginning when it was a tragedy and it hit quick. Like I was amazed how amazing our church was when it came to our generosity and leaning in. But as we start moving back forward, I want to make sure that we lean into each other and we encourage each other, that we're learning to live with this. See, our church has been impacted by COVID-19. We've had several people that are part of our church that have been positively infected and are doing better. And we have some that we're not sure yet. Alo Bell is 100 years old. We're waiting to see. All right, we're believing that God's going to do a healing in her life. And we know that as we move forward, one of the things that we want to do is we want to encourage each other. We have many people that are part of the medical community or work with senior adults that have told us they can't come and risk exposure yet. And we have many people that have a loved one who might be vulnerable, that they want to see them and don't want to risk being asymptomatic, which is happening quite a bit. In fact, that's what we saw here, even in our church staff, had asymptomatic people that were infected and ran the risk of, passing that on unintentionally to someone else who it could impact even further. And this is where I think it's so critical that the phrase I'm talking about this Sunday comes into our lives. We need to do what Paul says to the Romans in chapter 12. We need to outdo each other in showing honor. We're going to completely outdo each other in showing honor. We're going to encourage each other. We're going to love each other. And it's okay to have people with different perspectives. People can see things different than you do, but we're going to honor them, right? If they see the way that they need to handle this for their family different than you see it, we're going to honor each other. The way that we're going to do this in our services is we're going to say masks are welcomed. They're not going to be required. We're not requiring people to wear masks. We've only told a few serve team members if they cannot do what they need to do and be social distance, then we want them to wear a mask. But all the other positions, we're just saying, no, we welcome masks if you want to, and if you don't want to, that's fine. We really trust that we're going to be adults and we're going to be healthy and we're going to encourage each other during this time. If you're visiting, what we're going to say is, and you'll notice when you come in, we won't have space to visit in the lobby. Our lobby is simply going to be a hallway between in and out of the building. If you can visit in the sanctuary with social distancing, that's fine. We encourage you to visit outside in the parking lot with social distancing. In the building, we're going to strongly encourage social distancing. I know some people are going to want to hug each other and high five and shake hands, and we'll get there. We'll get there. And outside, if on your own and your friends, you can interact with each other the way that you want to interact with each other. As we're gathering together, though, we're going to honor each other, and we're going to believe in the best for each other, and we're going to encourage each other. This has been such a great time for us to learn, like, God, what's really in us? As after Easter, we've kind of watched it get hard, right? Even in my message talked about isolation fatigue. It's gotten harder over time. But I believe that we're learning that we're going to re-engage and we're going to come out of this stronger and more beautiful as a church. And I want to encourage us too, as we continue to be irrational in our generosity. I believe that sometimes when things aren't as difficult as they were before, we can forget that, no, God called us to be irrational in our generosity, not because he wants something from us, because he wants something for us. There's still so many opportunities. And I'm so thrilled at the way this church has helped each other with those that are in financial need, the way that this church has helped serve the community. We've had every news outlet come and be a part of things that are happening at our church in multiple ways, which has been phenomenal because we want people to know, right, that we've said hope is not canceled. Now, one thing just to note, on May 31st, we're going to have a Sunday that you're going to not want to forget. Okay, May 31st, we are going to honor our graduates that are graduating from high school. This has been such a tricky year as a parent who has a kid graduating this year. This has been so disheartening in a lot of ways. But we're going to honor them as a part of our service. So I encourage you to be a part of the 31st experience. And we're going to have a group of our serve team people begin on campus on the 31st to make sure that we're ready before and after to handle the people that are going to come to worship. So serve team members, make sure that you're watching your emails for a special opportunity that will be available to you on that day. And then on the afternoon, we're going to do something so cool. We're having a drive-through celebration, kind of like a mini parade, a reverse parade, so to speak, where the guests of honor are standing still and the rest of us that are the crowd drive past them and wave at them and honk our horns and bring gift cards as we're going to honor our foster youth in our community. We have 12 students that are a part of this. And these are kids, remember, 53% of foster youth don't graduate from high school in Iowa. Okay, that's not a national statistic, that's the Iowa statistic. These kids have beaten the odds. They are modern day orphans in a sense. And we want to encourage them and bless them. And if you want to give to them, there is a link on our website. If you go to CR First and to go to the events, you'll see there's a chance that you can just give ahead of time. If you want to bring gift cards, I know bringing a gift card for all 12 is hard. Let's just say you want to bring 3 gift cards, but a card for every one of them. That would be awesome. Like really, seriously, if you brought a card for every kid, congratulating them, speaking life into them, maybe putting a scripture verse, writing out a prayer for them, that would be amazing if you would take the time to do that. And I know financially, we might not be able to give something to all 12, but if you give to 3, the team will just divide it out among all the graduates and make sure that all of them are blessed. I know many life groups are going together to encourage each other, and it's just going to be awesome. So if you have questions, don't be afraid to email questions@crfirst.org, okay? If you have any questions. And this week, we're going to be putting out another video that'll just walk you through what it's going to look like. We're not going to open the doors until about 15 minutes before service begins. And then 15 minutes after service ends, we need to start cleaning for the next service and all the different details of what that looks like, how we can work together. So I encourage you again, which service you're going to attend, 9, 11, or 1. Watch our social media for other ways to interact on this, and we're looking forward to connecting with you and seeing what God can do as we come together and we worship and we move forward for his kingdom. Oh, and by the way, I keep teasing. There's an announcement coming. That's just so cool. I love what God has been doing during this time, things that I just didn't expect. But God's opened up doors and opportunities for us, and hopefully in a week or so, we're going to be able to announce that and see what God is doing that we can celebrate and continue to honor each other. So CR First, let's outdo each other in showing honor as we move forward and bless God's kingdom.